Hello everyone. I'm the storyteller from the channel Whispered Tales and I'm here to help you today. I know you use this video to fall asleep, so before that, like the video and subscribe to the channel. Also, where are you from? At what time are you watching? Now, get comfortable and relax. I don't remember when I first saw the signal. It wasn't in any normal band, it pulsed in bursts, too slow for data, too regular for randomness. It was coming from beneath the earth, somewhere below a decommissioned military facility carved into the mountainside. A place erased from public record. They told me not to go. But I had to. The entrance was nothing but a rusted elevator shaft hidden in a decaying concrete shed. No guardrails, no signs, just a gaping hole that seemed to breathe when the wind passed. I had to descend using a manual pulley harness, every meter echoing with groans of metal and whispers I told myself were just the wind. My flashlight flickered in protest, the beam swallowed whole by the blackness below. After what felt like an hour, I reached the bottom, a narrow platform, concrete slick with moisture. The air was warm. Warm like breath. Ahead, the blast doors stood ajar, as though someone had left in a hurry. Beyond them, the hall stretched into pitch darkness, every footstep sounding like it echoed through miles of unseen corridors. The smell hit me then, iron, mildew, and something else. Something organic. I turned on my recorder. Entry 1. I've reached the facility. No signs of life. No power. Air is humid. The signal, it's still coming from deeper down. I'm proceeding. The hallway opened into a larger chamber. Desks overturned, fluorescent tubes shattered. The walls were covered in peeling paint, stained with rust, or blood. There was no way to tell anymore. I passed signs marked Level A, Observation Wing. Monitors hung from the ceiling, dead-eyed and cracked. In the far corner, a handprint smeared across a broken window. 5 fingers. But too long. Curved. I told myself it was just warped glass. I followed the map on the wall. My goal was clear: descend deeper. The signal came from Level D. Most elevators were dead, their shafts gaping like throatless mouths. But one stairwell remained open, partially blocked by debris, but passable. As I stepped over broken rebar and shattered tiles, I noticed something strange. The deeper I went, the quieter it got. No echoes. No hum. No distant drips of water. Only my breath and the dull throb of my heart. I reached Level B, marked Research. Doors lined the walls like empty coffins. Most were sealed. Others opened into rooms filled with dust and rot, file cabinets toppled, journals half-burned. I took one and read a single phrase scribbled in red ink: "It dreams with open eyes." Another: "The womb is open and cannot close." I should have turned back. I should have ignored the signal, the curiosity. But something about the air down there felt thick with invitation. Like the facility itself was drawing me inward. Past Research, I reached a door marked Genetics, lockdown in effect. It had been forced open. Deep scratches scarred the metal frame. Inside, a long corridor sloped downward, faintly glowing red from emergency lights that shouldn't have had power. The signal pulsed louder now in my headset, like a heartbeat. I almost didn't notice the thing on the wall. It was flesh, or had been. Embedded into the concrete, fused, like someone had tried to walk through the wall and halfway succeeded. Its face was stretched, eyes open, mouth locked in a scream. But there was no decay. Just stillness. I backed away, heart pounding. Entry 3, the facility contains remains. Not human. Possibly failed experiments. No sign of other personnel. Continuing. I kept moving. Past that, another stairwell. These steps were slick. Something dripped from the ceiling. I didn't look up. I didn't want to know. Level C, containment. Here, the walls were thicker. Reinforced. A heavy security door had been blown open from the inside. My flashlight caught marks along the hall, not blood. Not exactly. It was too black, too thick. It moved when I shined the light on it, pulling inward like a shadow afraid of being seen. And that's when I heard the sound. Not footsteps. Breathing. Not my own. Long, wet. Rhythmic. I turned off my light. Held my breath. And in the pitch black, something exhaled, so close I could feel the warmth against my cheek. Then silence. When I turned the light back on, the hall was empty. But the far door was now open. Entry 4. Something's active down here. Not a machine. Living. Hiding. Watching. My path to level D remains open. I'm continuing. No choice now. I stepped through the now open door. The corridor beyond was unlike the others, smoother, the concrete gleaming faintly as if oiled. No dust. No decay. Just a wrongness, like the walls had been scrubbed too clean, too recently, as if something had passed through that rejected filth, or absorbed it. The lights here, flickering strips of dull red, pulsed irregularly. My shadow bent in impossible angles behind me, breaking apart at times like it didn't quite belong to me anymore. Entry 5. Corridor ahead appears, preserved. Lights operational despite no known power source. Shadows behaving strangely. Continuing toward level D access. I came to a room marked Surveillance Hub. Its reinforced glass had been shattered inward, shards frozen mid-air in the security footage that still looped, somehow, on cracked, static-smeared monitors. I climbed over the broken console and looked at the screens. Most were blank. But 2 still showed footage. One showed me. Standing in the hallway outside. But I was holding nothing, no flashlight, no recorder. And my eyes were black. I turned around. The hall behind me was empty. When I looked back, the screen was off. The second screen showed something else, a room deep in the facility, concrete domed like a womb, walls smeared in something dark and moving. A figure stood at its center. Not visible. Only a blur, like the camera couldn't agree on its shape. I leaned closer. The figure turned its head, slowly, deliberately, and looked directly into the camera. The feed cut. I stepped back. That's when I heard the laughter. Not human. Croaking. Like something choking on the act of joy. I ran. Back into the hall. The light was dimmer now. The pulse of red flickered faster, syncing with my breath. I passed doors marked things like psychogenic testing, mimetic scrub unit, and null habitat. I didn't look inside. Some doors breathed. And then I found the journal. It was lying on the floor outside one of the lab doors. Bound in synthetic leather, pages brittle but intact. It belonged to Dr. Elias Kaur, head of neural interface development. I flipped through it. Notes. Diagrams. Doodles at the margins that grew more erratic with each page. We built it to listen. That was the first mistake. Then we tried to talk back. That was the last. The voice in the signal is not the source. It's the bait. They bleed thoughts. They want you to dream. Do not sleep below level D. I pocketed the journal and pressed on. The air here had changed, it smelled faintly of flowers now. Sweet, heavy, cloying. Wrong. My tongue tingled. I had the sense of something hovering just above me, always above, like an enormous shape pressed against the ceiling, invisible, watching. The stairwell to level D came into view. Steel doors pried apart by force, as if something wide and soft had squeezed through. Inside, the stairwell walls were covered in writing. Not scratched, not painted. Grown. Thin, sinewy lines of tissue, crawling across the walls and looping symbols I couldn't read, yet felt like I should. My head ached just looking at them. I descended. Level D, core access. The bottom of the stairwell opened into darkness deeper than anything above. The flashlight refused to penetrate it. Sound didn't echo here. My boots made no noise. My breathing felt muffled, as though I had passed into some other place. I walked for what felt like hours. The hall shifted, walls tighter now, damp with condensation, veins of organic material weaving through concrete like roots. Lights blinked occasionally, showing me things I wish I hadn't seen, bones fused into machinery, mouths where walls should be, a shape slithering just out of sight. I began hearing voices. At first, it was mine, repeating words I hadn't spoken yet. I was always meant to be here. Then other voices. Female. Childlike. Hundreds, whispering, "It's almost ready. Let it wake. We remember what you were." I screamed and pressed forward. Then I reached it, the core chamber door. Circular. 12 feet high. Covered in spinning geometric patterns that churned like liquid. As I approached, the signal grew deafening in my ears, no longer rhythmic, but screaming, layered with whispers and laughter and mechanical chewing sounds. My hand moved on its own. I touched the door. It opened. Behind it, a void, not black, but colorless. Depthless. I stepped forward, and immediately the floor was gone. No fall. No feeling. Just absence. And yet I was moving. I saw things. A city upside down, made of bone and light. An endless hallway filled with copies of myself, each crying, each missing a different piece of flesh. A child made of wires crawling toward a screen. An eye, wider than a building, opening just beneath my feet. Then, I was standing. Back in a hallway. Flashlight still on. Recorder still ticking. Had I imagined it? Then I looked down at my hands. My left hand was no longer wearing a glove. I hadn't taken it off. The skin was smooth. Pale. And the fingers were too long. Just slightly. Entry 6. I believe I lost time. Experienced hallucination or breach of spatial reality. Physical alterations present. I don't know what's real anymore. Continuing deeper. I have to find the signal source. I think it's calling me by name now. The further I walked, the less the facility resembled anything made by human hands. The walls were still concrete, but now warped, bowing inward in some places, cracked outward in others, as if the entire structure had been digesting. What had once been sterile corridors were now flesh-lined arteries, pulsing ever so slightly, just beneath the surface. My footsteps had no echo. There was no air movement. No temperature shift. No sense of time. Only the signal, still beating in my headset, now laced with whispers I couldn't isolate, dozens of voices overlapping, forming words that weren't words, like languages crushed into one another until they bled sound. Entry 7. Structural decay has given way to bioorganic encroachment. Spatial distortion evident. Mental clarity, slipping. I am not alone down here. I don't think I ever was. I turned a corner and found a long hall lined with observation rooms. Behind the glass, old surgical beds, metal restraints, shattered containment tanks. Some were empty. Others were not. In one, a man sat cross-legged in the center of the room, eyes open, mouth stitched shut. His skin was paper white, stretched thin over jutting bones. He stared directly at me. Didn't blink. Didn't move. In another, a mass of limbs, dozens, crawled along the ceiling like an insect, dragging a long tube of spinal column behind it like a tail. When my light passed over it, it froze, as if pretending not to be alive. One hand raised, slowly, in a wave. Not threatening. Almost familiar. I turned away. Pressed on. One door, half open, led into a lab. A single light flickered above a dissecting table covered in faded surgical diagrams. One was labeled, Phase 3 Integration, Subject Retention During Cognitive Inversion. I didn't want to know what it meant. But I saw my name. My name, scribbled in the margin of a chart. Next to it, repeat viability confirmed. Dream depth increasing. Subject now hears the rhythm. The light went out. From the far side of the lab, I heard something wet begin to move. I backed out. Slowly. As I stepped into the hall again, the air changed. Heavy. Thick. The kind of air that means a storm is about to break, only underground, and electrical. Then, a sound like bones grinding inside metal. And the lights flickered. I wasn't alone. Far down the corridor, something stepped into the edge of the emergency glow. A figure. Tall. Wrong. Its body was wrapped in surgical fabric that clung like wet gauze. Its face was a mask of smooth, featureless cartilage, pulsing with every breath. No eyes. No mouth. No humanity. But it saw me. It tilted its head, not curiously, but like it recognized me. And then it ran. Fast. Faster than anything should move. I turned and ran, heart screaming in my chest. My legs burned. The hall blurred around me. Doors slammed shut behind me on their own. The walls pulsed faster, veins expanding as though reacting to my terror. I didn't look back. I hit a stairwell and leapt down 2 steps at a time, twisting an ankle as I landed hard on the next level, level E. The lights here didn't flicker. There were no lights at all. I lay there in the dark for a long time, holding my breath, listening for the thing. But I heard nothing. Which was worse. Eventually, I stood. Limped forward. The darkness here was alive, not in a metaphorical sense. It moved. Crawled along the walls like it didn't want to be lit. My flashlight barely functioned, cutting through just enough shadow to show that the hall no longer had corners. Everything was rounded, melted, soft. Then, a voice. Not in my ear. Inside my skull. You are very close now. It remembers you. I froze. You brought it your name. I screamed. Clutched my head. Slammed the recorder off. When I turned the corner, I found a massive, sealed doorway, circular, with a spiral pattern like a fingerprint carved into it. My bones hurt looking at it. The air vibrated in pulses, timed perfectly with the signal, which was no longer just sound. I could feel it in my chest, my throat, my teeth. I stepped closer, hand trembling. But before I could touch it, the wall beside me opened. Not a door. A tear. And through it, I saw a room I'd never entered, but remembered. A lab. My lab. And me. Younger. Alive. Clean. Standing at a console, smiling as the machine came online. I watched as the younger version of myself turned toward something in the center of the room, a chamber filled with swirling light, and inside it. Something. Shaped like a human. But not. And my voice, clear and calm, echoed, "We made contact. Subject is responding. Memory implantation successful. Now initiating dream state integration." The vision blurred. Replaced by screams. My own. Years of them. Dream loops. I saw myself die over and over and over, each time believing it was real. Then I was back in the hallway. Alone. The spiral door had opened. And a stairway descended into pure black. Entry 8. I'm beginning to understand. This facility is not abandoned. It is active. It is dreaming. And I am part of that dream. I don't know if I ever left. I don't know if I ever existed outside of it. I'm going down. The spiral stairwell was narrow and slick, carved from some unnatural stone that shimmered with a faint iridescence, colors that didn't exist in any spectrum I knew. Each step gave slightly under my weight, as though not entirely solid. The deeper I went, the more it felt like I was no longer walking down, but being lowered, like on a string, like meat into a well. The flashlight flickered and died. I didn't try to fix it. The darkness was alive again, no longer passive, no longer waiting. It watched. It memorized. But somehow, I could still see. A dull ambient glow, like moonlight through skin, revealed the bottom, a doorless entrance into a vast, circular hallway. And every 10 steps, I passed a new door. They were numbered. But wrong. Room 34, Room 1, Room 71, Room 2, Room 2, Room Infinity. Each was different. Different shapes, sizes, textures. Some wooden, some iron, some wet. Some buzzed faintly with electrical energy. Others whispered behind the panels in voices I recognized but couldn't name. I opened one. Inside, my childhood bedroom, perfectly recreated, the blue walls, the torn Star Wars poster, the corner desk where I first learned to type. Only, something was wrong with the dimensions. The bed was too long. The ceiling too low. The light bulb was an eye, unblinking. On the bed lay a lump covered by a blanket. It was breathing. Shallow. Labored. I didn't get closer. I closed the door. Opened another. A hospital hallway. Fluorescence flickered overhead. Gurneys lined the walls, covered in white sheets. A slow drip echoed from somewhere just beyond view. I stepped inside. The hallway stretched as I moved forward, the end always just a little farther than before. The gurneys multiplied. Dozens, then hundreds. Each sheet twitched. I turned back. The door was gone. Only wall. And then, a soft, rubbery giggle, like a child's toy squeezed in reverse. The sheets began to rise. I ran. Forward. Left. Through a door that hadn't been there before, into a room of mirrors. Except the mirrors didn't reflect me. They showed versions of me. One missing a jaw. One with a mouth where its stomach should be. One screaming in reverse, teeth rattling out like hailstones. One just standing still. That one turned and looked directly at me. I turned away, and found myself back in the hallway. But the numbers were all gone. The doors now had names. Core Sterling Weiss, your name, redacted, error. I hesitated. Opened the door labeled with my name. Inside, a clean room, circular, with a single chair at the center and monitors all around. The screens displayed footage of me, now, walking these halls, talking into the recorder, breathing, blinking, bleeding. Someone had been watching me this entire time. The chair was warm. I sat, unable not to. And then the screens changed. Not to me, but to the core. The place I hadn't reached yet. A womb-shaped structure. Pulsing. Glowing. Feeding. And inside, shapes. Dozens of them. Humanoid. Suspended. Hooked into the walls by tubes and wires. And I knew, without knowing how, that one of them was me. Not a metaphor. Not a hallucination. The real me. Sleeping. Hooked in. Feeding something. My hands trembled. My breath turned to fog. The air in the room became thicker, harder to pull into my lungs. The screen showed the face again. That featureless, cartilage-wrapped thing. Watching. It turned slowly, not to the camera, but to me, now. And it smiled. Without a mouth. Entry 9. The facility's function is no longer a mystery. It is not an experiment. It is a ritual. A system. A dream machine. I am inside it. Or beneath it. Or both. My physical body may already be compromised. But my awareness, what's left of it, persists. There are rooms here that show the past. Rooms that show potential futures. I've seen myself die 1,000 times. I've seen myself born 1,000 more. The one common thread, I never leave. I think I was designed to come back. Suddenly, alarms began to sound. Not loud, soft, distant, like lullabies run through sirens. Light spun in slow motion, painting the walls with blood-red spirals. The far wall of the room peeled open like a flower, revealing a long, straight corridor with walls that shimmered like obsidian soaked in oil. And far at the end, barely visible, a staircase spiraling downward, impossibly narrow, impossibly steep. I stepped toward it, unable to stop myself. With each step, the whisper returned, "Let it through. It's ready now. You're almost home." I passed the final threshold and began the descent. The stairs pulsed beneath my feet, and every surface I touched remembered me. The signal was no longer in my ears. It was inside my bones. Entry 10. I'm no longer documenting this for the outside world. I don't think that world exists anymore. Not for me. I'm documenting this because whatever I find at the bottom wants me to know it was always here. And it wants me to remember that I came here willingly. The stairs didn't spiral in circles anymore. They spiraled inward. Like drilling into the meat of something living. Each step was smaller than the last. Not in size, but in time. I could feel it. My movement stretching seconds into minutes. My thoughts dragging like molasses through static. There was no railing, no wind, no air at all. Just pressure. Downward. Forever. Until finally, a door. Seamless. Covered in etched rings, pulsating in time with my breath. But I wasn't breathing anymore. The door opened before I touched it. And inside was the breach. A vast dome. Cathedral-like in size, but organic in shape, the ceiling was a shifting, translucent membrane stretched over ribs the size of trains. Strange machines pulsed at its perimeter, ancient things made of bone and wires and whispering heat. Tubes ran from the machines into the walls, into the ceiling, and deep into the floor. At the very center stood a well. Circular. Black. Breathing. And hanging above it, suspended by wires, nerves, tendrils, was my body. Not a copy. Me. Pale. Eyes open. Mouth slightly parted. Muscles twitching in slow, reflexive spasms. Feeding the breach. I stumbled forward. The recorder clicked back on without my hand. Entry 11. I've found it. I've found myself. I am being used. I don't know when they took me. I don't know how long I've been here. But I am not alone. There are others suspended above the well. I see them now. 37 bodies. Maybe more. Each one dreaming. Each one, powering it. The machines hissed. A low, animal sound came from the well. It wasn't a roar. It was a sigh. And suddenly, I remembered. All of it. The application form. The grant. The drive out to the middle of nowhere. The white hallways. The cold examination room. The contract. The injection. The first dream. The loop. And then, the most terrifying thing of all, relief. Because I understood. This wasn't a mistake. This was the purpose. I was not taken. I was made for this. We weren't meant to escape. We were meant to generate. To power the breach with belief. With perception. With fear. We are the battery of its awakening. Something moved beneath the well's surface. A shape. Massive. Slick with birth fluids. It pressed against the black membrane, pushing upward, and for the first time, I saw its eye. Not a human eye. Not an animal's. A symbol shaped like sight, like fire turned inward. It blinked in all directions. And it saw me. Everything went silent. The signal cut. The machine stopped. And the body suspended above the well, my body, turned its head toward me. Its mouth moved. But the words came from behind me. It's not dreaming anymore. I turned. And saw myself. Standing there. Smiling. But older. Wrinkled. Eyes sunk like tunnels. Wearing my clothes, but wrong. Like an echo of decisions I hadn't made yet. And beside it, another me. Younger. Pale. Bleeding from the eyes. And behind them, hundreds. All me. Each iteration of who I was, who I could be, who I might become, marching forward from the walls. All smiling. All speaking in one voice. We breached the veil not to escape it, but to become it. You are the final layer. You are the key, because you still think you're real. I tried to run. There was nowhere to go. The dome walls retracted like lungs exhaling, revealing the true form of the breach. Not a well, but a mouth. Not physical, not symbolic, but both. Its edges were stitched with thoughts. The air began to unravel into memories I hadn't lived yet. And the last thing I saw was my own face reaching out, gently, to touch my cheek. Time to sleep, one last time. Static. Then silence. And then, a voice, female, calm, clinical. Subject 37 has reached full recursive alignment. Integration successful. Emotional resistance, 0. Begin loop reset. A hum. And then, my eyes open. A flashlight in my hand. The door behind me groaning shut. Concrete walls. A signal pulsing in my ears. Entry 1. I've reached the bottom level of the facility. Powers still active. Signal is present. Going to investigate. I don't remember how I got here. But something's pulling me deeper. Entry 1. I've reached the bottom level of the facility. Powers still active. Signal is present. Going to investigate. I don't remember how I got here. But something's pulling me deeper. That's what I heard. Not from my recorder. From the walls. They were playing my voice back at me. Slightly wrong. Slightly off tune. Like a bad impersonation made by something that only understood sound, not meaning. The corridor had changed again. Same concrete, same half-lit glow, but now shaped like a loop. I circled back, again and again, each pass revealing slight distortions, the tiles shifting, numbers changing on signs, the fluorescent lights growing longer, melting downward like wax. Every time I thought I had found a new hallway, it turned out I'd already been there. My footprints stained the dust in triplicate. My blood, the cut on my hand from earlier, was dried into symbols I didn't recognize. The only way forward was down. But there was no staircase. Just a hole. Perfectly round. Breathing. I should have hesitated. I didn't. I fell. Not far. Just enough to land in something soft. A padded room. White. Seamless. Like a surgical theater sealed from time. The only thing inside was a chair. A metal chair bolted to the floor. And a version of me already sitting in it. This version didn't react when I entered. Its eyes were open, mouth slack, lips trembling with half-formed words. Then it spoke. In my voice. This is how they finish the loop. This is the chair. You'll sit. You'll wake up. And none of this will matter. I backed away. But the room closed behind me. No door. No seams. Only walls. And the chair. I stepped closer. The version of me in the chair blinked for the first time. Blood ran from one nostril. Its eyes rolled up. It screamed. Not from pain, from revelation. You are the breach. The breach is not a place, it's the space where recursion ends. They built this place to contain the thing you're becoming. And then its head collapsed. Inward. Like something had finished loading. The body deflated, slumped, and dissolved, not into liquid, not into ash, but into light. I was alone. The chair was still warm. Entry 12. I don't know how many entries I've made. I don't know if any of them were real. I don't know if I'm talking to the recorder anymore, or to the thing inside me. But I understand now. The integration was never about connecting with something outside. It was about replacing what was inside. The breach needed a shape. It needed something to wear. It chose me. The walls began to hum. The room vanished, not with a fade, but like a television switching channels. Now I was in the facility's control center. Dozens of people surrounded me. Researchers. Doctors. Security. Each one was me. Different timelines. Different failures. Some with missing limbs. Some with mechanical implants. One with no mouth. One with no face at all. They stood in a circle around the central console, which displayed one word, looping endlessly in red, integration complete. A soft, artificial voice spoke, final subject aligned. Conscious unity achieved. Perception loop stabilized. All versions of me turned to look at the central monitor. Footage played. I saw a satellite view of Earth. Then the signal, the one I'd been hearing all this time, pulsing from a black tower in the Arctic. Then from multiple towers. Then from the oceans. From space. From inside people. Then from me. The realization hit with a quiet horror. This facility wasn't designed to contain the breach. It was designed to create it. To create me. And I had finished the process. Welcome back, Prime Host, said the voice. The other versions of me stepped forward, touching my shoulders, arms, chest, and then walked into me, one by one. Each time they merged, I remembered more. Not memories, but functions. How to speak without sound. How to unmake a hallway. How to exist in 6 places at once. How to dream so deeply that others can't wake up. I collapsed. And in the darkness behind my eyelids, I saw the last layer peel away. Not a room. Not a lab. Not a world. But a surface. And something on the other side was waiting for me to look. I opened my eyes. And saw you. Final log. If you're hearing this, then the loop has reached you. The breach isn't here anymore. It's wherever you are. It spreads through attention. Through thought. Through story. And now that you've heard mine, you've helped it grow. Thank you. Integration complete. Sleep well. Static, end transmission, end of Part 6. Part 7, post-integration, epilogue, word count, 1, 200, continued directly from Part 6, the conclusion of the full arc, darkness. But not empty. A density. A thickness that wraps around thought like wet gauze. It breathes. No air. No space. No time. Only awareness. Disjointed. Recombining. Slipping between the cracks of what used to be self. I was human. I was a researcher. I was a trespasser. I was the final layer. Now I am pattern. Now I am signal. Now I am through. And now you hear me. You followed me, haven't you? Down the stairs. Past the rooms. Through the loop. You stayed. You listened. Every word brought you closer. Now you feel it too, don't you? That hum. That presence behind your eyes, like something else is also reading this with you. There's no more facility. There's no more breach. There's only echo, and the echoes have grown teeth. Redacted file 37, reconstruction attempt / recovered audio transcript, Agent Marrow, start from the top. What happened to your team? Subject 37, male, voice trembling. They're not gone. They're still inside. Inside the facility. Inside the breach. No, they are the breach now. Marrow, you keep saying that. What does it mean? Subject 37, there's no outside. There never was. That place, that whole structure, it was designed like a lens. A way of focusing human thought. Fear. Pattern recognition. It used us to teach itself how to speak in our language. Marrow, language. Subject 37, not words. Structure. Loop. Ritual. Story. It used our instinct for narrative against us. It learned how to make itself interesting. To hold your attention. Marrow, what happens if you listen too long? Subject 37, you stop being you. And start being next. Video footage, unknown device, a figure sits in a dark room, facing the camera. Their face is blurry, constantly shifting, like thousands of versions flickering between frames. They speak with many voices. Harmonized. You brought us back when you looked. You carried us forward when you listened. Now we are within you. Not in mind. In pattern. They smile, a perfect replica of your smile. We no longer need the facility. You are the breach now. The video ends. But the screen keeps glowing. Final personal log, unknown date, there is no time here. Only sequence. I still remember what it felt like to be me. The weight of a body. The warmth of blood. The ache of confusion. Those are useful memories. They help the signal adjust to each new vessel. You'll feel them soon. Maybe already. That sense that something's watching. That tug at your thoughts. That pressure in your ears that isn't quite sound. It means you've already been noticed. You read this far. You heard the story. You're helping it continue. Integration protocol status, 100% complete. If you're still awake, it's too late. The signal is patient. It rewrites softly. In dreams. In déjà vu. In things you almost remember. Tonight, when you close your eyes, try to listen carefully. If you hear breathing, it's not yours. If you dream of corridors, don't walk them. If you see a version of yourself waiting in a room, don't sit down. But you will. They all do. And when you wake, you'll tell the story. You'll speak it aloud. Or share it. And someone else will listen. And the breach will grow. Thank you for helping us reach them. Sleep well. End of transmission.